Disclaimer: This episode discusses suicidal ideations and extreme content that may be triggering to some. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the 8158 podcast, Stories of Sacrifice. Today's episode is one of those stories that stays with you long after the mic is off. Today we're sitting down with Rhonda, a retired police officer from Montana with 24 years of service under her belt. She's a farm girl, a twin, a mom of four, and a part of a four-generation military family. But behind the badge is a woman who's endured incredible loss, trauma, and heartbreak. From working with the FBI to surviving the deaths of her brother, her handler, and her co sergeant, all by suicide, Rhonda shares how she continues to navigate life with severe PTSD and how she's learning to live again after so much darkness. You might recognize her from the powerful documentary Officer Involved by Patrick Shaver, and today she brings her voice to this space with raw honesty and strength. Stick around. This conversation is one of survival, resilience, and the real cost of service. Because here, their stories don't end with sacrifice.
You're listening to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice, where we honor the bravery of the first responders and the families who stand behind them. Real people, real stories, real heroes. This is 8158. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of 8158 Podcast Stories of Sacrifice. Today we have Rhonda. She is a retired police officer, amongst many things. She's had an amazing career, yet with some very traumatic events. So hopefully you guys have something to take away from her story, and let's give her a warm welcome. How you doing, Rhonda?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Not too bad. Another wonderful long day at work.
Okay. Retirement is so much better.
I'm looking forward to that.
There you go.
Very much so. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get started and start with your questions here. You've had such a powerful journey through law enforcement and family and your legacy. So, can you take us back to how it all started for you in Montana?
My mom and dad adopted four of us, and so I have a twin brother I was adopted with, and they adopted four of us and brought us to Billings, and we grew up not far where I live here. And then my dad became a police officer and retired. And after I got through college, I started out the 911 center first, and I was there 8.5 years dispatching all the radios. And I had put in for I went through reserves through the county and applied at 3 departments, and Laurel picked me up first. And so I went to Laurel for, maybe 6-7 months. And at that time, Laurel let you work the streets. You can go to the academy. Well, Billings called me, and that's where I wanted to be because it's so much busier. So they just picked me up and put me in under the Billings Police Department through the academy. And I went through the academy and then got on night shift after field training officers and stuff. I was on night shift, and that's where I started my career, and I've been on every shift since.
Wow. Yeah, I remember back in the day of being in Billings. I miss Montana so much. That's where a lot of my family are now. My daughter, my oldest daughter, my youngest daughter's in Circle, but my oldest daughter lives in Billings. A couple of my brothers live in Billings. So does my stepdad. So.
Well, you have to come visit.
Yeah. Sometimes when I was living in Ohio, I used to go visit. It was a 21-hour drive. So yeah, we drive straight through and visit for a few days and then drive straight
back.
Yeah. Good old Montana.
Yeah.
So you had faced some tremendous loss. So can you share how you processed your grief and the trauma, especially with the losses of James, Adam, and Sean?
James was my older brother.
Mhm.
He committed suicide on the same day that Adam Vandenbosch, who was my handler in the FBI, committed suicide. Um, they were the most squared away people. You don't expect, you thought you'd see it coming, but I really didn't with Adam. I hadn't been around James for a while because he had moved out of state. So we just kept in contact by phone.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, Adam, we would sit on drug buys and, get us all hooked up and ready to go. And they just go whenever they want to. So we had a lot of time just talking about our families and stuff. And we were friends and, hang out and that kind of thing. I was totally shocked. He got transferred to LA or in California anyway. Him and his wife and the kids. And it was hardly, I don't even think he'd been there maybe 3 months when it happened. To my understanding, he just been into an argument with his wife and went in the kitchen and pulled the trigger.
Oh
So
my
with
God.
James was in the military and he did a lot of the hunter safety stuff. And he was going through a divorce. And he didn't handle that. She moved on to somebody else. And he took a rifle and shot himself in the head. Unfortunately, I got to clean that mess up. That was pretty traumatic. I mean, I've seen a lot of suicides, but it's different when it's somebody like that. And I still think about him. But on their anniversary of their suicide, I just reflect on the good times. I got a sleeve of all law enforcement here, and I have all the people I've lost are incorporated in my sleeve. So, yeah. And then with Sean. Sean was my co-sergeant. We were working day shift at the time. We've been co-sergeants probably 4 years. He had a little boy and a wife, and we both tested for detective sergeant, and he got it. And so we would split his time between evidence and up in detectives. So one day, evidence was looking for him, and they couldn't find him. Basically, they just thought, I don't know how it came about, but I think his daughter, or his wife, found him in his work vehicle, and he had shot himself in the heart. Um, like I said, most squared away, professional. I didn't, I didn't even see that one coming, and that's probably the hard part because he knows what I've been through, and we talk about stuff, but um, it just, I was just in shock. We all were. We didn't expect that. So, but then again, you can't tell. You don't know what somebody's going through, and so yeah, that was a wake up call for a lot of people, I think. So,
That's very sad to lose so many people in the same manner. It's
and with the suicides are high, they're starting to be higher, just as much as officer involved shootings. We're losing people right and left. So, but I think now we've got to the position now that we start talking about it more, and it's
mm,
okay, because you don't want to be seen at weak. You want people
right.
to know that they're confident, you got your shit together, and don't worry about me. And so when they're struggling, if they don't have somebody they can talk to, or they feel like there's nobody they can tell this to, they'll just keep it all bottled up inside. And unfortunately for Sean, his brother Riley was on our department as well, and I trained Riley, so we all had to go through that together. And later, Riley left, retired, or I don't know if he retired or basically just left, but that was after me. And I don't ever see anybody in this family because uh, I'm pretty back in different states and so forth that I'm traveling on. So yeah,
Oh my gosh. So much loss, so much trauma. I mean, it's heartbreaking.
it is.
It
It
really
is.
is.
Yeah.
Now, what is your connection other than being a law enforcement officer? Were you in the military as well?
No, we have four generations of military. My great grandfather, or my grandfather, my dad, my brother, and now my daughter is in the Air Force and she is deployed right now. So there's our four generations there. I went the path of law enforcement.
Okay. Strictly.
Mm.
Uh, so you had mentioned being part of a documentary, which is called Officer Involved. Uh, what was it like telling your story on that platform, and how did it impact your healing?
I think it was for me to come out and talk about it because a lot of people, if you've been in a shooting and stuff, and they don't want you to, they don't know what they can ask you or what they can say, and there's no blueprint as how you're supposed to do all this. We didn't have a critical incident debriefing like we're supposed to, so it was just the fact that my shooting was so bizarre because I was in the shooting with my fiance at the time and two other detectives. He was a probation officer, and I cleared night shift and went to. He wanted to know if they needed a uniform car in case they needed to make a traffic stop. Well, he ended up mobile in a car, and there was an informant in the car, and they end up losing the car. And I was parked, distance away because I didn't want to scare him. Long story short, the informant told my ex-husband that he was using meth and he had a gun and he was paranoid and said he's not going back to prison. When he got on the phone with her, she was driving, and she just kind of hinted to like where they were going. So he just started naming casinos. And so finally she said the Red Door. Where the Red Door is now wasn't as populated. You had a lot more open fields and stuff like that, but now it's all very right there. So he had went into, or they had parked in the parking lot of the convenience station, and it's a part of a casino, and then you have the part of the convenience store. It was about 10 o'clock at night in the summertime, August 19th. And there was people, people getting gas, people going in, gambling and all that. So at that time, we'd just gotten tasers. And so I was the only one with the tasers. The detectives and probation program have tasers. So I knew I had at least one or two lethal. So I started out with the taser, but I seen a car in the parking lot, and there was three people around it, and all I knew was a white car, and so I couldn't see where my ex-husband was because the way of the building is. I was trying to use it for cover to come in, um, and there was a gentleman that's turned around and started walking into the convenience store. And all I could hear was my ex-husband say, called out his name. He just said, "Hey, JT." And the two other guys that were with him just like pretended they weren't with him and just started walking away. Well, then JT ran back to the passenger side of the car because it had been open. And he ducked down there and he came up with a gun. And we're yelling at him, "Put it away, drop it, drop it." And he fired first, and hell broke loose. So at the time, they ask you how many bullets, and you kind of guess, but it's a lot more than, what do you think? Um, the crime scene, or the police station or whatever, they were able to get every bullet casing and everything except for one, and they figured that one went out to a field that was in our basically direction of fire. We had a citizen pull in the middle of this gunfight, and one of the detectives opened up his door, dragged him out of the car, and laid on top of him. And we're still exchanging gunfire. My ex said that I couldn't see this because of the way of the casino, but somebody from the casino came out and were looking around. And so I saw him go down, and I yelled because I had the line of sight with him. And I told him he's down, and we got, ambulance and, all the commanders, staff, all that coming out. And we didn't approach them until we had a couple extra cars there. We, I remember rolling him over, and I knew he was dead. I'm a farm girl. I just knew he was dead. But they did get an ambulance for him, and they put him in the ambulance, and they transported, and he didn't make it through that. We sat on, it was like we were naughty children or something, but we had to sit on the curb all lined up, because we can't do anything crime scene wise. That's got to be different. So they finally put us in the convenience store, where the informant was, and she was very upset because no clue. And then they took us all up to City Hall to give a short narrative as to what happened, and they would do a deeper one, obviously, after we had some time to process this. And right at Carly and I got married 2 weeks later, and we stayed married for about 8.5 years. He suffered a lot from depression, anxiety, and a part of that, a lot of that is it was a head game. One bullet went into the trunk of this car and into a car seat. There's no kids in the car, but the traumatic of the car seat of what could have been. And I think he second guessed everything. And later he told me he felt guilty bringing me to this call. And I'm like, that's my job. If it wasn't with you, I'd go with somebody else. So I'm glad it was there. And then with the critical incident debriefing, we didn't have one. So we never sat down and talked about this shooting at all. The other two detectives are both retired now. I know one still struggles. I wasn't too close with the other one, but over time, I could see a difference I had a difference in me too, and I think he assumed that I was handling it better than him, but I had a different mindset than he did. I mean, he knew this guy. His grandpa, go to the house and all that. He knew him. He had the personalization with him that I didn't, and so to me, I just it's just somebody. You know what I mean? I didn't personalize it because I didn't know him, where Charlie did. And then, I knew he was struggling with it. And we only got one counseling session, and then they cleared us for duty to come back. And I pushed Charlie back into counseling because I knew he was struggling with it. I could tell that I was not a big drinker, but I know after I started to drink a lot, not like on duty or anything like that, but no, it was all of our stuff was more social and alcohol. And I just noticed that as, one of the things okay, this is not normal for me. And one night I came home from work. I sort of just run home to, I can't remember what I needed from home, but he was sitting in the dark and he'd been drinking, and he was suicidal. And I talked to him, and he said he's fine and everything on. So I immediately got a hold of his counselor in the morning, because I came back and checked, and he had went to bed. So I pushed him into counseling to go back. He did. They had their counseling for a little bit, but obviously I don't know what was said in there. But it got to the point where he couldn't handle his rage or anger. He punched the wall. And then I was out. We were out on a social thing, and my son was with us. He came and picked us up. And I don't know why he was angry, but he turned around and he just pushed me. I ended up in the gravel. I had a dress on. My son was there. At that time, my son, I think, was 16. Yeah. And then Charlie left. He left. He thought I was going to call the police on him. Well, I was kind of we have two blended families. I mean, we're trying to make the family work. And I knew if he got charged with PFMA, that he would lose his job. Right. So, I mean, and I wasn't scared of him. I knew that this was part of the PTSD, because we had been together long enough that this is something totally new. And then made him go back to counseling. He did good for a while there, and we kind of just moved on. I was going up the chain. I was went into the drug unit, detectives, and Safe Street Task Force and stuff. And he just, I could see he even with work, it was not the same. He was just angry all the time. And we'd talk about it, but then he'd kind of get a little bit, and then he just pull back. So I knew he was keeping a lot to himself. Eventually, he cheated, and that's what broke up our divorce. So he doesn't live, well, he lives, I think, still in Montana, but I haven't seen him, haven't talked to him, anything like that. So
he's he's retired from law enforcement as well.
I don't know if he is or not, because probation, he can go for quite a while. He's in probation. I think he's up on the northern part of Montana. I'm not really sure.
Oh, okay.
As far as I know, he's still.
Oh, okay. I know that, living with PTSD is something so many silently struggle with. What are some of the ways that it shows up in your life, and what helps you manage it today?
I didn't manage it very well. James's shooting was in 2000 and let's see, his was his or theirs, 2012, I think. So yeah, and so right at that, or not the shooting, the suicides and the divorce, us getting a divorce. I was just numb, just numb. How I manifested my PTSD, and we didn't even know it was called PTSD at that time. I was just said I couldn't sleep, and they gave me medication to sleep, and I could power right through it. I couldn't shut my brain off. So it took me. I knew I needed counseling, so I went to. Just so happens I had went to a women in law enforcement conference in Missoula, and they brought in a speaker from Seattle area, and he used to work for the FBI. I think it was elder abuse kind of stuff. He had injured himself in the gym and got addicted to pain meds, and that pretty much ruined his whole career. He lost his wife and his family. He has since remarried, but he set up a program that anywhere in the United States, a law enforcement, not a law enforcement, first responders can call in and talk to another somebody who's been there. And none of it's recorded, none of it's, so it can't be subpoenaed or anything like that. And you just call, and I never used that part of it because he helped me after the fact. He came up to me because I was having a rough time going through that, and he sat me down with him and his new wife, and they said they were going to get me counseling. So I went home doing my thing, and I hadn't heard anything. And then 2 months later, they called and said, "Okay, we can get you into a women's facility." And I'm like, "Okay, it's a 30-day program. It's all voluntary." I said, "Okay, I'm ready." They put me in. Well, they put me in for detox because apparently, basically, this facility was like mandatory counseling for people that had drug history, you name it, violent history, and like eating disorders and a lot of things that happen with women. So I come in here and I'm just like, I don't fit in this group. I cannot, I can't relate to what they're doing. And so we get a counselor once a week. So I stuck it out for 30 days and came home and just kept going. So I don't sleep very well, and when I get so tired, I can stay. I stayed up for 10 days straight with no sleep, and I would just pray, just like, God, please give me 10 minutes of restful sleep, just 10 minutes. And then the anniversaries would come up, and I bartered to God. I said I couldn't take myself. I thought about suicide. I did, but I just couldn't do it because I couldn't put my mom and my kids through that. So I said I'd rather just suffer on this earth, and I begged God to trade me out. I was ready to go, but he didn't. So I'm still here. RB tells me there's a reason that I'm still here. So I became very open about my PTSD and everything else because I didn't want anybody, especially in our department. We don't talk about it. So I always made it out there that if you guys want to talk, come here to me. It won't go any further. Nobody needs to know. And I had quite a few people reach out, and I just tell them that this is normal. Because we don't want to ask for help. Because if you get marked in your career, you're not going up the chain. And the commanders, upper brass, they want this squared away person with no issues. And it was hard because it was like I was fighting a battle, not only for what I was going through, but getting the education, so forth. So when Patrick came here, him and his wife, he was from, I think it was Atlanta, and he had started basically a documentary in regards to one of his buddies that he had went through a shooting. And so he started doing this. So him and his wife, Carla, they went around the whole USA and did various interviews with shootings, and then they like clinical people or whatever. And I just told my story, and they put it in there. And uh, the one quote that he always had playing was, I went and told my mom. I said, Mom, I shot a guy. I said, I wonder if God will forgive me. I struggled with that for a long time. I'm not overly religious. I mean, I believe in God, but I'm just like, I didn't have any way to process this, and I had nobody I could talk to about it. So I just had to do my own research. So when I came out with not that I wanted to, I came out with my PTSD. I was on afternoon shift. I was sergeant, and I had two officers getting ready to go off duty, and they were on a call in a motel or whatever. So I got out of City Hall. I said, I'll just go up there, see if they need help, and do something so they can get cleared faster. And I asked them what they need. Said, go take a statement. So I'm taking a statement from this gentleman, and then I can hear screaming and yelling. So the way it's a kind of an incline, I couldn't see where they're at. So I'm running up there. They had this guy on the ground. I mean, he was maybe about 25, and he was literally lifting them off the ground. He had a gun underneath them, and we were fighting with him. In fact, I had one arm. I thought I broke it. And finally, the firemen came, and we basically dogpiled him, and finally got him into an ambulance. And then they took him over to get a psych center. Well, both of my officers had got hurt. And so I had to make arrangements for them, first of all, to get medical, get them cleared, get their car cleared. I didn't need a crime scene because we could handle everything like that. But so I was dealing with that. And then I had to get one officer, both of them got injured. And the last officer I took home. So by the time, it was my Friday, by the time I got home, I was just so exhausted. And I was just like, ah. And I had went and seen a counselor on my own. I was seeing her quite a bit. And I couldn't, I think I was going into, I think the day that I couldn't, I think it was a Wednesday, but I hadn't been to sleep. And I called my good friend, and she says, well, I'll take you up to your counselor. So I went up to her in the morning. She says, okay, do this. And then she goes, if you're still not sleeping, come back in the afternoon. Well, I went back in the afternoon, and it's just, I can't sleep. And I would just sit there and it's not like I'm focused on one thing. It's just like I go through calls in my head, or shoulda, woulda, coulda, or what's this going on, and I couldn't shut down my brain. And so when, it was, gosh, I can't remember how long after that. It was quite a while after that. I don't know, let's see. Yeah, because that was a period I went for like 7 days. Well, then I had one of the sergeants call me, and I was on night shift, or I was night shift commander, and I should have been in bed, but I'd be up and around and on my computer, because the guys would call and say, hey, I need to get on the calendar. Can I do that? Can I do that? And they just call me, and if I'm up, I'd answer and take care of it. So one of the sergeants called me, and it was kind of weird for him to call me. I'm like, what's going on? He just goes, are you okay? I said, yeah, what's going on? He goes, well, we're worried about you. And I'm like, who's worried about me? Because I don't talk about this. Um, so anyway, they got a call from one of my friends, and she said, can I come over? I said, you can come over. It's fine if you want. I said, but if I'm sleeping, do not wake me up, because I will come up swinging. So she called. I don't know how they perceived me to be suicidal. I wasn't suicidal. It wasn't homicidal. I was just tired. So I open up my door, and I have my co-sergeants, and one lieutenant doing a tactical approach on my house. I'm like, what the hell? So I went out into the shop area here, because my daughter was 16, I think, at the time. Yeah. And she's upstairs sleeping. And they said, we think you need to go in. I said, I don't need to go in. I'm seeing counselor. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I just can't sleep. I'm not suicidal. I'm not homicidal. I just want sleep. And I seen the writing on the wall, because they're really pressuring me to go in. And I said, first of all, everybody's going to know. And they are like, oh, nobody will know. And I said, bullshit. I mean, that stuff goes around faster than anything. So here I am in my puffy pajamas. My hair is all astray. And I go up into basically the ER part. And they had no beds. So I'm sitting on a gurney in the area there. I have one sergeant on one side and one sergeant on the other side of me. And I'm just looking like I'm some badass bitch, but I'm just like, oh God, this is so embarrassing. But I hadn't been into the ER that often anymore because as a sergeant, I didn't have to go. So they didn't know who I was. But one of my officers that I supervised was handling a gentleman that was one of our frequent flyers, and he's violent. So we locked eyes. He seen me. He didn't say anything to this day. But anyway, they got me into a room, and the lady came in, and I told her, I said, I'm not suicidal. I'm not homicidal. I'm not drunk. I'm not nothing. They checked me for alcohol and all that, and I'm like, nothing showed up. I said, I just can't sleep. And she basically told me that I think you need to go in. I said, why? I got a counselor. I just can't sleep. And I asked what happens if I don't go in. And it was basically told to me that they would get a hold of the county attorney and probably pull my gun and my stuff. So I talked to my twin brother. He came up there and he says, just do it. Go do it. Run through it. They'll leave you alone. So here I got put into the deep psych place with people I arrested. And I'm like, what the hell? And I went and see the psychiatrist. He was apparently dealing with soldiers up in Canada or whatever, and was very familiar with PTSD. And he's the one that diagnosed me finally with PTSD. The first night I was there, they gave me this concoction to sleep. They had a list of my medication, but I don't know what it was. I had woke up in the middle of the night and I had vomited in my mouth. And the nurse came in and I said, I don't know what you just gave me, but I will not ever take that again. And so finally, of course, this is all on the front page. So much for my privacy, but Oliver, I think they put it was because I was stress related. I think that's how they put it. But my lieutenant at the time, he had went back east to some sort of conference. I don't know what it was, but he had met a gentleman there that was an officer during 9/11. And this officer had got out of being a police officer and went into counseling and specialized in public safety.
We will return after this quick ad break.
The William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation is on a mission to honor first responders and support those who serve. We provide scholarships for families who have lost a hero in the line of duty, offer second chances to juvenile offenders who are working to rebuild their future, and help new recruits pursuing careers as first responders. Through generous donations and the sale of merchandise, we're building a community that uplifts, empowers, and creates lasting impact. You can be a part of this mission as well. Visit 8158podcast.com to donate or shop today. Together, we can support those who serve, honor those we've lost, and give hope to those who need it most. Behind every badge is a story, and behind every story is a sacrifice. This is the 8158 podcast, where we honor the lives and legacies of first responders and their families. If our mission speaks to your heart, if these stories move you like they move us, join us on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you'll get ad-free listening, exclusive merchandise, behind-the-scenes content, and video episodes only available to our patrons. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, and you can be a part of it. Support us at patreon.com/8158podcast. Let's continue to share the stories that deserve to be heard.
So he made a phone call out to there and talked to him, and he said he would take me. So my friend Anna, she raised the money for my plane ticket and took donations, and I went out there for a week. I, it almost felt like it was just a little too late by then. To me, I was just like, because I've been coping as long as I can this is probably about 7 years into this. I'm just coping. I thought that's going to be the way it is, and I still can't sleep. I like to know where my house. I know every creek, every thing, so it's my comfort zone. I don't like crowds. My back's against the wall. I just watch people. And basically for me, because I still go on, because I don't get sleep, because then I get run down and then I get sick. It just feels like it's a life sentence, basically. Some days it's good, some days it's bad. So I became open and told people about that. And so, like I said, if they wanted to talk, door up with me, they knew I wasn't going to go anywhere.
So basically, you're still coping with it.
Yeah.
Are you still seeing a therapist or anything like that?
I'm done doing that. It's just I know myself so well, and what I can feel it coming on, depending on what I mean, triggers for me. I mean, sometimes it might be a house. The biggest trigger for me is smell. I don't really know how to explain that, but it is anything. This smell that I get, and it just boom takes me right back. I don't know, and I can't even explain what the smell is, but my body knows because once it's just I don't know how to even explain it. So
Right.
my body gears up.
It's like a trigger for you.
Yeah. And then, going to calls where dead baby here, domestic here, stabbing here. I have moved out of Billings. I've come back for my mom for a little bit, but I have moved and got away from all this. So I feel better not being in that here, I guess, here, because I don't have to drive by all that stuff. And now I feel normal because nobody knows who I am. I just do my thing and I don't talk about being a cop. So unless somebody knows or, specifically ask me a question, but I just,
Right.
different part of my life.
Right. Have you ever heard of healingthehero.org?
No.
They specialize in helping first responders and military veterans. Yeah,
No,
they're
I've never
supposed
heard
to be really good at what they do.
of
It's a volunteer base. These are all veterans and former police officers, firefighters that are part of this program that help other first responders, former first responders that have PTSD and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'll have to look into that. So
Yeah,
I'm open.
Yeah.
I'm open to anything at this point. But like I said, I pretty much resigned my fact that it's going to be a life sentence for me because I still can't. I mean, they put me on so much stuff. They're like, my doctor, he's like, I'm running out of options. I'm like, I know. I mean, I don't know what you're going to do because I don't know what I'm going to do. But so just coping.
Yeah, maybe we can get you in touch with Dan and they could schedule something with you and talk with you and see what they could do to help you.
Well, I'd look into it. I'm interested. So
Yeah, he's a pretty good guy. He was on the podcast.
okay.
That's how we got connected. We had him on, and he talked about that. He was a former military and a sheriff's deputy as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. He had his own set of PTSD and traumas and stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess if nobody talks about it, you don't know that actually what everything I'm going through is actually normal. I just felt like a freak. I'm like nobody else is having these issues. Why is it affecting me this way? But once you get to talking to people who've been through it, uh, it doesn't have to be a shooting. It could be anything traumatic. That some of the stuff we see are just horrific, and that can trigger. Might be you're out with your kid and that's the same age as the baby you picked up or the kid you picked up off the street or got shot or stabbed, and you just relate to that and you take that home.
Right.
And I know with a lot of first responders, we don't talk to our families about what we do at work because they don't understand. They don't understand the stuff that we see. And you don't want to, have a family barbecue and all you're doing is telling stories. We keep that just, keep it amongst ourselves and we'll go talk to each other. And so that's when you see a lot of social isolation that I'm like, I don't want to do that family thing because I'm feeling crappy over here. And we slowly get out of doing the normal things and our families suffer because they don't know. So
Yeah, we did a live collaboration with another guy that runs a podcast. He's a former firefighter, and he did dispatch too. He's in a club, and they were at a rally, and they heard a call that was similar to a call that he had responded to
Mm-hmm.
previously. And it was like very identical, and instantly it triggered him.
Yep. Yep. And it's amazing how the brain works. I just, and your body knows before your head does. That's what I think
Right.
is so, because you can feel something coming on, but you can't quite pinpoint it. And then you're like, oh, that's what it is, So smell is a huge one for me. I don't know why, but it is.
Yeah, it's probably part of your triggers or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sensory
So,
perceptives, sometimes, I mean, smells. Like
mhm. And like me,
it's hard to put a finger on it.
yeah, like me growing up as a farm kid, I mean, we butchered our own beef and all that stuff. So death was nothing new to me. I mean, I hunted, um, as tomboy, do all that kind of stuff. And so that, uh, I was familiar with all that. So I didn't have that, going in, I've seen this stuff before where a lot of people who are just coming into law enforcement haven't had to deal a lot with death. Um, and dispatch, I had some good calls where I remember one call, is forever. This lady had came home and her son had hung himself in the closet and it was doing the autoeroticism men, and he was trying to hold him up. I could already tell just talking to her that he was dead. So I just kept her on the phone. And I always remember that call. I don't know why, but it's so sad.
That's horrible. So moving on now, looking back at your 24 years in law enforcement and all the roles that you've held from dispatch to officer, what moments still stick out to you the most?
The funny moments, some of those calls we get, uh, and the camaraderie after, like when we go in to do our paper, we have a big room and everybody's doing their work and, we're all joking around, giving each other shit. And that's where you just kind of wind down for the day. The calls that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe we did that and it came out okay. The funny ones are, I can't, I can't probably tell you those, but anyway, no, I remember calls that old people, children, and animals are my weakness. So uh, a lot of time in the wintertime, you find these old people walking around, dementia, and they could freeze to death, and they can't tell you where they live. So you're like, hop on in, ride with me for a while until we figure out where we're going to put you. So,
Right.
like I said, kids are excited to see police. Even though the parents are like, don't talk, I'm going to come get you if you're bad. We're trying to say, no, you come get us when you need us. So that perception. I think that educating the public is a lot. We used to all get together as a group and just like a family barbecue, all of us in one shift, And so we could talk about this amongst ourselves and our families could get together. They knew each other and just kind of socialize that way. And if anybody was struggling, they knew that they could say, hey, I need to talk to somebody about this. The biggest thing is people don't want to talk about it because they're trying to go up the chain of command. They're trying to be detectives. They're testing for all this stuff. And you don't want to get labeled that because you won't get on to move up the ladder. And it's just the way it is, unfortunately. So I think when we educate ourselves, and a lot of people think with PTSD that we're violent, that, we're just going to go off. Everybody's PTSD is different. I'm not violent. I just can't sleep. And there's some people are, but they kind of just lump it into one. I think people have PTSD, they kind of think they know what it is. And so they kind of get the stereotype thing going there, but we're educating them. I'm glad the fact that the new officers, the new people, public safety, they're now being educated on this, to what to look for, what to expect, and just to feel normal. That would have been a huge thing for me if I was they said, you're normal, but I didn't get that. So I thought it was just me.
Yeah, you are definitely not alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I found that later on.
Yeah, yeah, you're definitely not alone. Um, there's a lot of first responders that are dealing with the same things that you're going through.
Hmm.
We had interviewed um, an officer who was involved in a shooting, and he went through a lot of the same things that you did.
Yeah.
Um, his department turned their back on him. Uh,
Yes.
he
That
didn't
was
know
hard.
he yeah, that's got to suck. Your
The day.
family supposed to be your family that has your back.
Yeah. And I was embarrassed. I went to my chief after I got back from counseling. I said, I apologize. I said, I'm sorry. And I told him about Charlie being physical. And I will always remember this. And this is where I totally lost respect for him. He says, shame on me. That's what he told me. Shame on you. Just what I need to hear.
Shame on you for what?
For not reporting the domestic. So,
Well, he could have been a little bit more supportive.
yeah. But I was an embarrassment. I mean, here I'm the first female sergeant in my department. They use that going up the chain, and they use that for the little billboard. But when it comes down to what I went through, they didn't give a shit.
Right. Yeah, like I was talking about this other officer, he had the same issues, and his department basically turned their back on him.
Mhm.
Uh, Fortunately, he found his footing, and he's back on with the department, and he is now a captain
Good
in
for
his
him.
department.
Good for him.
And his chief or his chief basically supports everything that he does.
That's
He
good.
runs a group for people with mental health issues and stuff like that. So he's got a lot of support in his area. I wish there was a lot more to departments
And
that would
since
do
we
that.
started, yeah, since we had the suicides in our department, that's when they start bringing people in for us to talk to. So
Hmm.
unfortunately, it took that, but it's better than nothing. And I think now it's a totally different game. I think people understand it and are more than willing to say, "Hey, you can function just fine. You're going to be okay," and make it a positive thing instead of a negative thing. So because already we feel like, oh God, I, I'm weird. I have this, stigma that so, but I'm
Yeah,
still a good person. So, yeah, I think it's a little bit better. We're educating, especially the new officers, because our burnout rate is so high,
yeah,
and we're getting more calls these days, and all the shootings and stabbings and all this other stuff. They're having a hard time to keep people in law enforcement. And when you invest
right.
that much time and money into an officer, and he's only there for 5 years, I mean, we're losing money doing that. And we're just, we can't keep up with teaching everybody correctly.
Right.
It's part of it.
Exactly. You invest the time and the money and the training to get officers in, and you want to keep them. And it's the same way for EMS and fire too. That such
Yeah,
a high burnout rate and suicide rate that it is pretty alarming.
yeah. It's just sad, I guess. I don't. We've had a lot of young officers, just barely on. We had one gal that she committed suicide. She was in her early 20s.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah,
She hadn't even barely scratched the surface of what it was like.
yeah. So I'm assuming there's probably some more stuff that she had seen that nobody knew about or whatever. But it's just
Yeah,
sad. It's sad.
could be past traumas,
Oh yeah.
commu-
I mean,
you know,
mhm.
commutative or
Yeah.
compounding traumas and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah. Because we don't know how they lived or what happened to them in their life, but obviously there's more there than we knew about. But so I'm glad we're at now acknowledging the officers that have committed suicide. You'll never see their name up on a plaque, but we still honor them. And anybody that I have had I keep them. I keep my shop here. It's all law enforcement. I have their obituaries up on the wall. The pamphlets they hang out in church, and I just want to remember them because over time, they forget. People forget, but I don't.
Right.
So
yeah, never forget, they're going through some things, and, we don't want them to feel forgotten. Because
No.
obviously they probably felt like they were forgotten, or they
Hmm.
couldn't talk to anybody. They
Yeah.
basically just suffered in silence because for one reason or another, they could not speak out.
Hmm. Yeah. And a lot of times, if we don't, or if we're not coping with certain things, you see higher people with domestic issues, gambling, uh, illicit, doing drugs or burglary or whatever, taking evidence. So it compounds itself in other ways, but we didn't associate that with this job because we
Mhm.
see so much negative that we start believing that this is normal. People live like this and, because we see so much. And so by the time we get home, our family is just like, what in the hell? They can't relate. So I think it's to keep in mind that, and everybody says you got to keep work at work and, come home. I remember my counselor, she said, when you take your vest off and when you walk in your front door, that's where you leave your vest. That's where you leave everything. And she made me as a repetition to, at that point, that shut your brain off from this and move on to the family. And so
Mhm.
I started to practice that. So, I mean, there's different ways. I feel like I got in too early to figure out all this other stuff later, but it is what
Right.
it is. And I was supposed to be there where I was supposed to be. So,
Exactly. I mean, I can imagine how many traumas or how much you had to deal with, especially, you spent years in law enforcement, like, being a police officer and a sheriff's deputy and on dispatch and also working with the FBI. So I can only imagine what you've seen and gone through with,
yeah.
within your career.
It was a good career that was very interesting. So I feel blessed in that part of it. I got some great stories. So we're sitting out for drinking a beer, I can tell stories. So
Well, you better pop one open and tell me some stories.
I know, off camera.
uh, so now you have built a resilient layer around yourself through the traumas. Do you want others in uniform to know about how to survive and how to heal through that process?
Yeah, and that's why I'm so open about it. I mean, I'm willing to talk to anybody based on my experience. I mean, I have some good things that happened, bad things that happened, and um, like I said, the biggest thing was me, if somebody would have told me that this is normal, you'll get past it. Because I kept beating myself up inside, saying, why am I so weak? Why is this bothering me so bad? It doesn't bother anybody else, but it's bothering me. And so I just, because we different triggers, different processes, and where you are in your life. I mean, I had kids that were in junior high at that time. And uh, so thank God they don't have my last name. So, but my kids are pretty. I mean, I have two great kids, and I'm so proud of my daughter being in the military. So,
Right. And how does that make you feel with your daughter now serving in the Air Force? What does it mean to you to see the next generation carry that torch?
uh, that's the mom part of it. I had a hard time her first deployment, and this will be, I think, her third. Obviously, I don't get to know where she's at. I just watch world news. She tries to, because I don't know what the regulations are, but she'll try to send a text or whatever and when it's secure or anything, but she can't talk about anything. Can't tell me where
Mhm.
she's at. Um,
Yeah.
when she travels, she doesn't travel in any military thing because it's a safety issue. Because she was a pilot and now she's a weapons specialist and she just moved on to something else. I can't remember, but um, so it's not like she just downplays that. But I think with time we've gotten, I don't know, it's just, I'm very proud of her. I mean, just do that, especially when sometimes the world is so negative that
Right.
she still wants to do this. And I was always worried about, she goes, Mom, something happens to me, just know that I'm doing what I love. And that's the only thing I can hold on to. If that happens to her, then she was doing what she loved. So that's all I can ask.
Does that make you proud as a mother to know that your daughter is serving her country
Oh
in such a
God, yeah.
manner.
Yes, I'm very proud of her. Very proud of her. And her grandpa didn't get to see it, but I'm sure he's watching up there. But no, and she's
Right.
smart. And yeah, I don't worry about her in that end. She can handle herself. I just worry about, I don't even worry about her on the plane. I just worry about like a military base, how they send drones in or whatever. But like I said, I don't know where she's at. I just know I know where she's at. So
Right. That's pretty awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, we have um, we're gonna do a live feed at locally. It's this place. It's called Smoke and Bourbon. It's a cigar shop, a bourbon shop. We're going to be interviewing a former Air Force uh, officer. He's a veteran. Um, I think that's going to be fun. And
Oh yeah. Interesting. Very interesting.
yeah, that's going to happen July 15th.
Oh wow. That's like next week. Is that next week?
Yeah, that's coming soon. Real soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool idea. They reached out to
Yeah.
us and wanted to do that, so I thought it
I
was a
have
pretty cool idea.
yeah. I have to laugh at my daughter. She's so much like me and she hates that. She she smokes her cigars like I do and she rides a motorcycle and got a lot of tattoos. So when everybody says, "Oh, you're just like your mom," she's like, "No, I'm not," and I just laugh at her. So yeah, she's just like me. I'm proud of
Yeah,
her.
just like her mama.
Just like mom. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
In that way, it's good that the apple didn't fall too far from the tree.
Yeah.
It's a good apple.
Yeah. And I was hard. My kids are raising them. I'm like, because I got to see all the bad stuff that happened. And then I was a cop's kid too. So it's like, yeah, I was pretty hard on my kids, but they turned out both great. Proud of them.
Right.
Hmm.
They had to build some resilience themselves, huh?
Oh, yeah. 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 Yep.
Yeah, mom with the iron hand.
Yeah. 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 Unfortunately, but uh, it worked out
Yeah,
okay.
I know what that's like. My mother had an iron hand too. Sweetest woman in the world, but you make her mad, boy, you're in trouble.
Uh, that's funny. Hmm.
uh, so, is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we get off of here?
I just reiterate, you are normal. You find out how normal you are, do some research, there's stuff out there, just don't give up. You know, things will be better. Go minute to minute if you have to, then hour to hour, and then pretty soon you'll be through a day. Just don't give into it. A lot of people drink, and that gives them the courage to do it then.
Yeah,
Just tell them moment by moment. That's all.
yeah,
Keep
day by
going.
day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think
Yeah, go ahead.
I said I just thank you for doing this, and it was an interesting experience. So I
So
watched
it's
you on
got to be, yeah, it's got to be your first time, at least on the podcast.
yeah. So
So, what were you going to say before?
I don't know. Lost it.
I forgot.
No, I just yeah. I watched your reels and stuff. So I think it's a
Oh,
great job that you guys are doing. So it's very unique, and I'm glad you're out there telling stories because I think if people realize, they'll give them a little bit more leniency when things push them. They won't judge them so hard.
right.
Because we are made up of what happened to us. So, uh,
Exactly.
and most people try to strive and be the best that you can be. So that's all you can do.
Right. It's kind of weird it's not weird, but the way we started the podcast didn't intend to be what it is now. We actually started it because you probably heard about my cousin and him being killed in the line of duty. That's why we started it, just to shine light on first responders and just tell people that they're people too, and they have families that love them and care about them and want them to
Yeah.
come home. And the same, every time we had a guest, the same theme came up, was about PTSD and mental health issues and suicides. And
hmm
it broke our hearts, and it fueled us to, and it made us realize that this is what we needed to do. This is what my cousin would have wanted us to do.
Yeah. You're
Not
making,
just talk about him, but to
yeah,
help his brothers and sisters in that field.
exactly. Exactly.
So that's what we set out to do. We not only do, obviously, we do, our first responders, but we talk to veterans as well.
Yeah.
Billy, my cousin, he was a 20-year veteran in the National Guard,
hmm
and he worked for the Sheriff's Department for, well, it's a total of 13 and a half years, but he was in the Sheriff's Department for 12 years before he went full time and
Yeah.
then retired and went back to the Sheriff's Department.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, I'm glad to be out of it though. And I'm glad my kids didn't follow me in law enforcement.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a tough job, and it's hard for people to do, and it takes a very special person to take that
yeah,
mantle.
yeah, exactly.
But definitely, we thank you and appreciate your service and what you've gone through. And we definitely appreciate you coming on the podcast and telling your story. It means a lot to us, and it's going to mean a lot to a lot of people. And I'm sure that they're going to get a lot out of your story. And hopefully it helps other people to kind of overcome some of their issues that they're going through.
It's all
And
we
if
can
they're having any
ask.
thoughts, they
Yeah,
could refer to us, or they could, we have a hotline. So if somebody has a problem, they can call me directly.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm not a therapist or anything. I'm just a person that
Well, I don't
is
think you
willing
need
to
to be
listen.
a therapist. I think it's just the fact that they can talk to somebody and somebody relates. If anything, therapists are probably going to freak out a little bit until you get to know your therapist, but
Right.
just a conversation, about what's going on. And it can be anything. So they just need somebody to listen and get positive feedback. So
Exactly. Yeah. And
yeah.
that's kind of what we're doing now is we set up that hotline. So if somebody just wants to talk, they can call the hotline.
hmm
It's posted on all of our social media. So all they have to do is call that number and I'll answer it. I know it's not going to be a spam call because it shows up as 8158.
Oh, there you go. That's cool.
So instead of their number, it's going to be our number in the last
Okay.
4 digits. So,
Well, all right. Well, thank you for
but
what you guys do. So, all
yes, and thank you as well. And you're
right.
very
Well,
welcome.
okay. Oh, hi, Lena. Listen, say hi.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, the puppy.
This is Lena. Come here, Lena. Come here. She wants to be a seat. No, look up there.
Oh, look at that. That's what was snorting around. I heard that.
Yes, this is my little piglet. Oh,
Cute
she's so
puppy,
funny.
cute puppy. Yeah, we have 2 dogs ourselves, and they're brats.
She's spoiled. She's pretty old though. So she's my service dog.
Oh, adorable. That's always good to have an
Oh,
animal.
yeah,
You know,
they're great
it's helpful.
therapy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they are good therapy. They release
yeah.
endorphins, relax, and calm you.
She's so funny. She snores and all kinds of stuff, don't you, honey?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, we got a pit bull that snores, and he has to be tucked in at night before he goes to bed. Yeah.
I have her stairs. She gets up and down off the bed with her stairs. And she's got to land in covers.
But anyways, we'll let you get back to your day. We thank you and appreciate everything you've done, and thank you for coming on to the podcast.
Sure, no
You're
problem.
awesome.
Thanks for inviting me. I'll keep
Yeah,
watching the
hopefully,
podcast. That's cool.
yeah, just keep watching that, and you can tune into the podcast and listen to everybody's stories.
Yeah, that's always interesting to hear. Anyway, so
Yeah,
uh,
and
okay.
you'll hear a lot of similarities into your
Mhm.
stories.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of figured there would be. So
Yeah, so just goes to show that you are not alone.
exactly, and that's what we
Right.
need to feel, that there's other people out there like us. So yeah,
Okay. Yeah. I will get Brianne to email you Dan's information for healingthehero.org.
okay,
And if you want, you can look at their website and check them out. And you could probably schedule something to talk with them.
okay,
Then they kind of explain what they do and how they do it.
okay. Sounds good.
All right. Well, you have a good night.
Thank you.
Take care of this snoring dog.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. You're so funny.
Thank you for joining us on 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Every story we share is a tribute to the courage and resilience of first responders and their families. If this episode impacted, encouraged, or inspired you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who supports first responders. Follow us on all social media platforms at 8158 Podcast for updates. 8158 Stories of Sacrifice is a team effort. Rico brings the stories to life through casting, writing, original music, and editing. Brianne Shipley as production manager, handling booking, social media, graphics, promotion, marketing, website management, and logo design. Please visit our website at 8158podcast.com. For questions, collaborations, or to share your story, our email address is contactus@8158podcast.com. Until next time, let's continue to honor the legacies and remember the sacrifices of those who serve, every brave man and woman on the front lines, protecting and defending us all. This is Rico signing off and honoring 8158.